Hello, welcome. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Billy Mitchell, editor-in-chief of FedScoop, and today I'm joined by Courtney Lambert. Courtney is the Senior Director, Master Data Management of North America for Informatica. Courtney, thank you so much for joining us in conjunction with Informatica's Data and Action Summit. How are you doing today?
Great. Thanks for the invite, Billy. Look forward to it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm looking forward to our conversation. And obviously, data is a big topic today. So I want to ask you about data management and its importance, particularly over the last year, during a pandemic and all that's going on. How has, the past year shown why data management is so important to particularly public sector organizations?
Yeah, it's a good question. Last year has been interesting for all of us. That's for sure. So we've actually seen what I call a shift in what's happened in the last year, and that shift has come from how I'm seeing agencies and organizations look at managing their data management issues. And really, I'll define that shift a little bit. I think historically, pre-pandemic, 2019. Um, it was really looked at as not just a nice to have, but we did a lot of manual workflow. We tackled our data management issues as they arose, a little bit more reactionary. I've seen that shift move towards almost an understanding of the data management challenge as being a liability now. Do I have the agencies are asking themselves, what's my risk if I don't understand where the data is leading me to, what the analytics are telling me about that data, and if I have trust in that data. So we've really moved from that good customer service data management to now it's a liability, and I have to get it right. And so the urgency in the last year has been increased tenfold with respect to ensuring that people understand that data problem, managing it correctly, and moving forward.
So taking a step beyond the pandemic or looking forward rather, what major lessons learned in data management, data sharing, et cetera, can be taken away from the pandemic and put into everyday use as agencies start to, move away from this horrible past year?
Yeah, I think when I hear you say every day, what jumps out at me is what everybody is facing every day, and what actually occurred. I think one of the challenges that happened that we've walked away with, and uses that we've been, is the challenge and the ability to support and facilitate a virtual workforce, for example. More than a year ago, we really were, especially in the federal and public sector space, we were used to in an attendance policy that was all on site, and now all of a sudden we're challenged with in-person work being not just a convenience, but in a lot of cases impossible to show up and/or restricted from showing up. So how has data management played into really tackling that challenge? It is now to the forefront. How was it managed? And going forward, I don't see that changing in a short term. I think we'll slowly get back, but how do we understand who our employees are? Do we understand where they are? Do we have their addresses and contact information confirmed? I'll use an Informatica example. We master quite a few domains of data sets for our partners, agencies, and that we're working with. In the past year, we've seen the employee management and the HR mastering domain move up to one of our top 3 domains that is requested. Historically, it's been in the top 10, but it resides around number 7, number 8. Without a doubt, it's in the past year been pushed to the forefront, and companies, agencies, public sectors, all alike, are not taking the risk of not understanding who their employees are, where they're at, their contact information, and all the data that resides around them. And by the way, that includes the entire household of that employee. What's occurring around them? What's happening with their families? Are they at the same place too? So when that data is allowed and that data is captured, it's been pushed to the forefront to be managed. So from a day-to-day standpoint, that's probably the most impactful one that we've seen.
Yeah, that's very interesting and definitely a lot to unpack about the future of the workforce. As organizations continue to mature their data strategies and how they use data, what kind of benefits and outcomes can they expect from these more matured data sets and data strategies?
Yeah, I think on that one and what outcomes they're expecting. Another thing that's risen to the top. It's always been prevalent, but it's really jumped to the top. It's the importance of um, the access to the data that we're seeing, the transparency that's being provided about the data from an analytic standpoint. I like to break it down that in public sector, there are two main use cases. There is, I'm using my data management programs to generate an operational business use case so I can run my agency and achieve my goals. And then the second is from an analytical standpoint. And what we've seen is really a merging of those two that is creating I used earlier the term liability, but it's really the unforgivable sin of not being transparent with the data set. And so where Informatica has really helped our public sectors with that is we provide services that lets them go search for the data that they already have that exists, but they might not know where it exists. So how do we find that data? Once we find it, how do we really harvest that data in a timely manner? And then once we've harvested it, is it correct? Is it, can I share that across agencies and ensure that it's a version of the truth that I'm willing to put our name behind? And what really has occurred with that is I've walked you through a process that's happened, but where the pressure is can me as an agency leader step in and provide you the history, the lineage, the auditability trail, the auditable trail to show how data was changed. What did that data look like in 2019 versus 2020, and who made that change to that data? What decisions are made that are different because that data was changed? So we've really seen a big push for we've always provided transparent and good access to data, but we've seen that push for proving it, if that makes sense. And it's a good thing, because I think from an analytical standpoint, we see it every day. Reports on statuses of programs that are associated with a pandemic or associated with what's going on in today's environment, and that data needs to be trusted. So probably the number one I would say is transparency and access.
Okay. So, as we wrap up here and continue to look at the evolving federal and public sector data landscape, what challenges remain, and, what would you propose can be done to improve upon those challenges?
Yep, there are always challenges, and someone wiser than me once told me, when you enter the public sector data business, Courtney, there will always be challenges. It's a good one, but one that we still continue to see, and I think is one that we need to work to overcome. It's all around the existing. How do you manage the existing policies and procedures that limit the ability to get a holistic view of data sets? What we tend to see is, as you know, agencies stack next to other agencies and report up to, in a state situation, maybe a governor's office. In the federal situation, you might have multiple agencies under a larger umbrella. There's usually policies and procedures in place that limit the sharing of that data. So how do we really manage the governance process around allowing us to get that holistic view of that data set? Now, that data set could simply be the data around the example I used earlier, the data around employees in our own workforce, or maybe it's the data around services that were provided. I'll give you one quick example that's really risen to the top. We've seen a lot of agencies that are now trying to be proactive with services that are available to beneficiaries. And there are leading indicators on who qualifies and gets those services. I'll give you an example. If someone is getting a supplemental nutrition program for their family, maybe they tend at a high degree to also qualify for a cash payout benefit program. Well, if I can't share from a holistic standpoint who's receiving one, I'm not, it really limits my ability as an agency to proactively reach out to that household and offer cash or nutrition to someone who qualifies for it. So in short, that's a huge challenge that I think that we all face, and it's something that would really be worthwhile overcoming if we can proactively get in touch with people who qualify for things, not just people, but in that use case, and let them know what's available. It would raise the bar for everyone. So from a data management standpoint, that's one of the use cases Informatica's tackling, and I think it's a valiant effort.
Yeah, sounds like a big challenge, but definitely interesting to hear how you're approaching it. Courtney, thanks so much for your time today. It's been a great pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you. I appreciate the invite, Billy.